I think we're good to go. Okay, so once on the edge of a quiet meadow, a man built a beautiful house. It had strong walls, a sturdy roof, and windows that let in golden sunlight. The man was proud. He had built it with his own hands, and for a while he lived in it happily. But as time passed, he stopped fixing the leaky faucet, then ignored the cracked windows. The roof began to sag, the paint peeled, and the weeds crept in through the foundation. It'll be fine, he told himself. It's just a little wear. Well, years later, the once beautiful house was nearly unlivable. Cold drafts, creaking floors, rotted walls. By then, repairs were too big to handle. What he built with care had fallen into ruin, not from a storm or a fire, but from neglect. So, the moral to the story, right? Like a house, anything we build, our health, our relationships, our dreams, need regular care. When we ignore small issues, they grow. And maintenance isn't just about preserving what we have, it's about honoring what we built. So don't forget to tend what matters before time ruins what you've lost. So, I mean, how deep is that, right?
It's pretty deep.
Right? I
It's
think
pretty
so
deep.
too.
I mean, I can relate with that as far as sometimes your health goes. You
Absolutely.
know, aside from the fact that you're young. Let's be honest. I mean, when you're have certain things going on for you, especially weight. Weight's a big issue. And when
Yes.
you're young and you're a little bit overweight, it's if you're confident. The good and bad thing about it is that sometimes the more confident you are, you kind of try to ignore that because, or you don't look at it as an issue because
Yeah.
I remember me. I was always been in my I guess adult life. All my life I've been pretty thin, and then in my adult life is when I really started gaining weight.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop me from doing the work that I did, running, jumping, playing football, whatever it was. It never stopped me.
Yeah.
But the problem was that as time went on, I got married, and my wife never did she ever say, "Hey, you know what? You're putting on a couple pounds."
Yeah.
Not saying she should have, but it's something that
But
I
how do
don't
you
know.
say that though?
Exactly.
How do you
That's what
tell
I mean.
somebody
I
that?
know. I
And
know. I
especially
know.
men. I think men, you guys are a lot more confident. You look at it and you're like, yeah, yeah, it's in there somewhere. Yeah, I still look good. My muscle, I still got that. But
Yeah.
girls, we fall apart. We're just
That
like,
is true.
ah.
And I think that there has to be a balance because there
Yeah.
can't be a fall apart situation that you guys are like all doing all this stuff to feel. I think there has to be a balance in between there where we're like, yeah, it's a six pack, it's in here somewhere. It's like so
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
we can still do this and I can still get down and whatever. So yeah, and that's tough. And then once you start getting older and situations start happening, you can become diabetic or have some
Oof.
eating deficiencies or different stuff, and you start realizing you can't get on that roller coaster no more. Then we got a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like some people will say, "Hi, what's the big deal? Love you how you are, this and that." But when it makes life, you can overcome obstacles, but there's a line between overcoming obstacles and putting yourself in the obstacle course.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm
Very
saying? The
true.
obstacle course of life, like you're so big that you can't. You're flying and you got to wear an extender. I know at one point I did. I was 411 pounds.
Wow.
So I had to go on
Wow.
there on a flight, and I would have to use an extender. Man, that's really that you try to stay positive, but sometimes it's a double edged sword because if you stay positive, you might ignore the issue, right? Because you're
Absolutely.
trying to be like, well, hey, you know what? We're all built differently, and but the thing is that once you get older and you start realizing it can cause problems and health and this.
Yeah.
I don't know
So,
how you have experienced your house.
oh yeah, my house. Well, let me see. I I think more than anything, I think it's my reaction, my attitude. My attitude has definitely changed. So that I had to check that a lot. Especially like yeah, with arguments, what makes me snap, that for me was a big thing. Food was a big thing for me too. I had to monitor that. And I don't know how you can say you were confident, because I was not confident. When I was gaining a lot of weight and stuff, I was really very low confidence.
Well, I guess because I would show so much confidence, it's almost like a lie. You kind of believe it yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I didn't have my moments where I was just, you know, like it was just like it would hit me like a ton of bricks, but because I portrayed myself as a confident guy. I believed my role, and it would help me to avoid the reality of what was going on.
Yeah. Oh, see, that's a strong word right there. You portray.
Yeah.
You portray, and I think that's a big thing for males, huh? You almost have to put a front to a lot of things. Because girls, I mean, we can just cry it off,
Yeah.
and we can blame our emotions. But that's honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it just becomes where it's like, you know, we're always competing, we're always trying to, with friends or whatever, or just, and some of us more than others,
Yeah.
you know, depending on where you came from, what your issues are, you know, if you, like myself, I was an only child for quite a few years before my siblings came along, so, you know, yeah, it's just, there's a lot of things that are factored in there, but
That
yeah.
compile.
But compile.
Yeah,
How did
yeah.
you feel like your trait of how you are? How do you feel like you saw that though? How did you realize it?
Ooh. Well, now it's hard for me because like I've noticed that I've like I've stopped talking so much about my feelings and now just started to look and identify things around me. And so now it's hard for me to express it. So I'm trying to find a balance. I'm trying to be open, to be vulnerable of like, oh yeah, I was there, and even though I was there, like I don't know, is that kind of like suppressing? I don't think so because I've let it go. I've released
Give me
it.
an example. You
Like
can make one.
yeah, like people will tell me like what's wrong, what happened, and I won't say the whole story. I'll just be like, no, I'm okay. It just you know, like especially like okay, when I recently got into an argument or a disagreement, right, with the loved one, like it did hurt. Everything that they said hurt. But then when someone wanted to know who was very close to us, well, what happened between you guys? Just we had a conversation and it went the wrong way. And so now it's hard for me to kind of like share because I don't know how to no longer overshare.
Yeah, I think it's just really tough because it really depends on the person that you're sharing with. So I think the number one rule is don't share.
Yeah. No, but I trust that person
Yeah.
who was asking me. I mean, I trust their intention would be good. I just don't feel like I just remember how we were talking about in the past show how you don't ever want to taint somebody's character because like it just
Exactly.
we all go through moods, different chapters, different seasons of our lives. And just to stop someone there and say, hey, they were a horrible person to me because they did this, that, like I felt like I've been there in moments where I'm just like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have said that.
Mhm.
I wish I wouldn't have reacted like that. So that's why I think like I no longer say things that I don't want people looking at other people in wrong ways.
You know what though? Sometimes I feel like there's gotta be certain friends or certain people. I guess the rule would be someone who's maybe more of a. Sometimes you could tell someone that's more of a stranger more information than you could a person that's more
Oh
close.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So and sometimes because I feel like telling when you speak about something, at least for me in my experience, I've realized that sometimes I'll say something I'm like. And that sounded worse than what it had. I mean, that sounded like different than what I remember. But
Yeah.
explain it to someone like, man, I guess I could have done that better. Or I could have, you can reflect a lot more because what you think and then how what you say happened and what was in your brain, what actually happened, it's all different.
Yeah.
It's
It's
all
true.
perspective. So the thing is that sometimes, we're like, yeah, I guess I could have done something different, because, but you're not going to know if it's just in your brain, and you don't, that's why there's people that say, write it out. If
Yeah.
there's a situation, you can't talk to somebody, and you want to just like write out what happened, write out how you feel, and then read it to yourself and go, oh, wow, this is what I'm thinking. And you will be surprised.
I
You
do
will
that.
be surprised on what you write. And you're
Yeah.
like, wow, that's me? That's me talking? Like, man. So we have to do that sometimes.
And I think that's probably what stopped me too. I started doing that. I started journaling rather than talking.
Really?
And I
Okay.
started to really observe myself,
Mhm.
and I was just like, "Ooh, yeah, I did that."
I-
So maybe that's what it was.
That's, and sometimes we do have to, even though, like, there is a line we've talked about before, there is also a line between complaining and venting.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's difficult to find those friends that can just hear you out, that are not going to judge, that are not going to try to give you advice. It's just like, oh my God, this and this and that happened and whatever. And it's like, oh, and it's not going to, and it doesn't have to be about a spouse. It could even be about a job.
yeah,
But, you don't want the person to be like, well, go get a better job. Well, why are you there? Again, just trying to vent.
yeah, Yeah, absolutely. So bringing it back to the maintenancing checks, right?
Mhm.
How often do you maintenance like your relationship, your mind, well, all relationships, right?
Yeah.
Because that's
Not,
important.
not, not often enough.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk with maintenance checks. Maintenance checks 101, at least for us Mexicans. We ain't go to the doctor, so so that's the first one we're already messing up,
Okay,
right?
well, first of all, let me tell you, the body's beautiful, so it'll repair itself, right? I
So
mean,
our thing is like, if I go to the doctor, they're gonna tell me something's wrong. That's what the census is. So
I
nobody wants
rebuke that thought.
Yeah, exactly. So like every time I go to the doctor, they tell me something's wrong. So why do I even go? So it's like it's funny, but it's true. It's like nobody wants to go. At least that I know. Want to go to the doctor? Like you've been sitting there and they're like, yeah, well, it's been like that for a week. And it's like, but it's getting better. Look, I can lift it like this much now. Before it was like this much. So it's getting better. People are like that. They're like,
I agree.
So-
I'm the same way, though. I'm the same
Yeah?
way. Yeah. Because I'm a firm believer that it just look at when you fall and you cut yourself. How does your body react? Like you just put pressure on it and it just stops. And so it's like let it coagulate, let it do its thing, let it build the postrita, right? And yeah. Oh, and then we forgot. So we also need to start looking at the chat now. So sorry, chat. Hi, I see a couple of people. Hi, fam.
Oh, dang.
Nice to see you, Haku. Okay, so yes, definitely. You do have to maintain like a house,
Yeah.
right? So I'm glad you resonate with that.
Definitely.
Yeah, but no, yeah, tell us if you guys do regular maintenance check? Especially, okay, so I'm reaching my 5-year mark, right? My marriage. Woo, 5 years.
Wow,
Woo-hoo.
that is a long time.
Yeah, it is for me. It's a long time. But we started to notice that we started getting a little stagnant, and that's okay, right? Because then we started to, work on it.
Mm-hmm.
We started to work on it. So, and that's not easy. That's not easy to identify what needs to be worked on. It's not easy, but we're getting there. We're getting there. We're gonna make it one day to the decade. No, you're not even decade. You're more.
Yeah, 28, 25 years.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a
25
blessing.
years.
That's good though. That's good. How long have you guys been in relationships out there? Married, not married? I mean, I think that shows loyalty, right? It takes patience, it takes love, it takes respect, right?
Yeah, does it?
It does. Yes, it does.
That's one guy, he was an old gentleman. I said, hey, how did you, looks like you guys been married for a long time. Oh, yeah, we've been married for like 50 years. And so, oh, wow. How do you do it? He goes, turn my hearing aid down. I'm like, man, I'm gonna get a hearing aid just to turn it down. I was like, that sounds like it could work. It could work.
Well, first I'm gonna have to yell in your ear to make you sordo, okay?
I tell my wife all the time, you know what? I gotta work more because when I come home, man, I love you so much more when I go to work. It's like sometimes, in touching that base, you guys heard about the pandemic, right?
Mhm.
Supposedly, people that were home with their spouses had a big old problem because they just were not used to that. So that just goes to show sometimes that it's like, man, there's problems that people push off to the side
Absolutely.
and don't want to address.
Absolutely.
And once you're locked into a room and the whole world's locked down, and it's like you're with your partner, and it's like, honey, I don't know if I can be around you. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Ya no te aguanto.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it happens,
Yeah.
And then it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's people that just realize, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
you're annoying.
I know. No, it's challenging.
Yeah.
But
So
we're good though. Speaking of what happened recently, did you feel the earthquake today?
oh man, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was a rumble. I thought I was hungry. I was like, man, I was in my van getting some tools out for the job, and I just felt this shake, like almost like when you pull up next to a guy who has a big strong bass in their car.
Yep.
But it was a whole different shake. Like I felt like I was inside of a big rig. It was like, and I was like, what's going on? I was like, did a big rig just hit me or something? Back up into me and just, I don't know what it was. And once I got out, I realized, oh man, there was an earthquake going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it was cool. It wasn't that big. I heard it was over.
Julian, I think, or something like
Yeah,
that.
somewhere Borrego Springs.
Oh, Borrego Springs.
Yeah,
Okay,
Borrego
so
Springs, I
east of
believe.
Julian then.
Yeah, so it was interesting though. I haven't had an earthquake in a long time.
Yeah.
I have been watching, which is really weird because my algorithm just last week started showing me a bunch of tornadoes.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was like destruction. I was like, "Are you looking at my life?
Mhm.
It is destruction right now."
Yeah.
But like I said, we started repairing,
Yeah.
so it's not a bunch of destructions. Oh my god! Well, what part do you feel me at, Haku? Because
I felt it. Yeah, yeah. Haku felt it.
oh, you felt the earthquake. I
Yeah.
thought you meant the destruction. Oh my gosh, that's funny. No, it's been good though. It's
Yeah.
been good, but everything else has been settling down around. So yeah. So guys, while we're here, let's see how we're gonna do this. So I'm checking out my chat. I mean, has anything we said resonated with anybody out there? Whether you agree or you disagree on points that we've made, right?
Mhm.
I mean, we want to hear it all. We are going to be working on making more of a call-in kind of deal, right? We're still working on it though.
Yeah,
We're still working on
little
it,
by little.
little by little. I mean, and I'm sorry that we weren't here on time because we were experiencing technical difficulties. Not sure why, but it's okay. We're here, live and good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And how are you on your side?
Good. Good.
Yeah. Okay.
We just laughed.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Oh, okay. Is that okay though?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So, anyways, so back to the maintenance
Yeah.
and everything.
You know what? It's just one of those things where it's like I don't think there's anyone really just kind of goes,
Mhm.
and I feel like there's a story of a I'll make it a little brief. It's a story of about they said it's a baby that they say, hey, this cactus is your mother, right? And the cactus is the mother, and the baby tries to get close, and it gets hurt, and as it tries to get closer, it continuously gets hurt because it's a cactus. So the moral of that story is pretty much that sometimes we go through lives with these hurts that we just kind of adapt with them,
Mm.
and these hurts sometimes guide us in certain directions that we start to lose focus on what's important and feel comfortable with what life gives us until sometimes we can't take it anymore, and then that's when we're just like, oh my god, and it's just everything. So I think that just because this life is tough, I tell
It is.
people every day, it's
It
like
is.
there's no such thing as an easy life. I have a one saying that I say is, if you want an easy life, you have to make hard choices,
Oh, yes.
and if you want a hard life, then make easy choices.
Yeah.
Hey, yes, I'm going to spend my money on this. Hey, I'm going to do that. Hey, you want to make, so you have your choice.
It's
easy,
true.
Easy choices is going to be hard life.
That is so true.
So it's just one of those things where I've always felt that way. People don't want to make the hard choices. They want to make the easy choices, and it doesn't work out that way because it takes a lot of planning, thinking. We don't take care of ourselves mentally, spiritually, emotionally, religiously. We don't do it. We don't maintain ourselves. We don't maintain our relationship. We don't do it. And if we don't do it for ourselves, how can we do it for our partners?
Yeah.
If we don't know how to care for ourselves, it's sometimes even more difficult to care for someone else or understand.
Oh, you can't though.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
can't
It's
because
hard.
when you have
Yeah.
enough love, that's when it spills over. You got to first feed yourself, get yourself good, and then you can spill over to help someone else.
I get that all the time. I mean, I've had growing up, family where it's like, oh, that's also cost some money. It's like, how do you do that? Oh, it's a thing. I just gotta give you that. And they're gonna give you that. Like, the rule is you always want to give what you can afford to lose.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You have to. If you live by that rule, give what you can afford to lose. There will not be any problems.
Yeah.
So don't give someone something that you can't afford to lose because that's what happens.
Oh, and then Rosalinda here even says that's true. A successful marriage works when two people don't give up on each other. That's right. That's right. And that's probably how yours happen, right? That's true. You can't give up. You can't quit.
But you know what though? It's almost like I was talking to my cousins last weekend. It takes what's crazy is that I feel like it takes two people to make it worse, but it only takes one to make it better.
Wait, it takes two people to make it worse, but one to make it better.
If someone's negative and you join that, and now that, like, there's a saying, instead of one tonto, there's two. All
Yeah.
right, you heard of that one, right?
Okay.
So in other words, if I'm being negative and you start to be negative, guess what's gonna happen?
Well, yeah, nothing
Okay,
good.
But if I go negative,
Stupidity happens.
exactly. So if I go negative, but all of a sudden you start being positive, what are the chances here?
Then you become an anchor in a heavy ass weight.
Exactly. Well, that's the whole point. You don't let it leave that where it's at. You don't let it leave that. And you can sometimes help somebody, and that's kind of what happened with me.
Yeah.
You can kind of help somebody by de-escalating situations, minimizing, emotions. But it only takes one person.
Yeah.
So let's not sit there and be like, no, well, you and me and you, try to be a better person. You got to. For yourself, for other people, you want to help other people, be a better person.
You do.
And it's not easy. I've had a lot of years of, and I'm still not perfect, but a lot of years of practicing to be patient.
You do. No, because while my hubby and I, we were trying to do that, because we were two trying to be like, we were kind of wrestling with each other, so we were two wrongs, right? But then we kind of understood that, hey, wait, we're both going with good intents into this, right? So one of us has to submit. And I was just like, yeah, but it was always me, right? So when he got on board, then we were just finally like, okay. And so I was a little bit like, every now and again, he's trying to do better, and I'll be like, no, then no. And I was like, on the littlest things, but I'm calming down. It's recognition, right? So I got to get myself some kudos on that.
Okay.
That's working. It's a work in progress,
No,
right?
it is.
Rosalinda, you got to admit, right? But yeah, I like that. Blind faith. Just go for it. That's true. Faith is a huge thing, right? It's just kind of like trusting in your partner.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, my goodness, like I'm telling you, you can't give what you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. If you work on yourself, then you can help others.
Yeah.
But you can't help others if you don't work on yourself.
No.
So that's what it is. And people are so worried about other people, like, oh my God, she got this attitude, and oh my God, he's got this way of being. Oh my God, and it's like, what about you?
Yeah.
And they might be like, well, I don't have that attitude. I don't have that way of being. Yeah, but can you be strong enough to work with that person to be able to, be a better person? Oh, well, I don't want to put up with that. It was like, well, there you go. See, so if you care about this person, again, this is people we care about. If you don't care about these people, it doesn't matter then.
No, but you should care about everybody.
No. Well, what I'm saying is that if it's a coworker and you just don't get along with that person, you don't want to care about that person's attitude. Hey, you know what? Sometimes you do got to stay away.
No, that's true. That's true.
And so that's what I'm trying to say. But if it's someone you want in your life.
But still, that's somebody. But that is true.
Yeah.
That is
no,
true.
and I'm not saying to be negative. I'm just saying, you don't have to try or be around that person.
Yeah.
But you know what? You want, these family members. Come on, guys. It's like family. It's like, man, it's supposed to be so united. It's supposed to be so, supportive. It's supposed to be so like this. And man, I just,
But this is why faith with God is so important, because all of that is in the Bible. It's all like how you have a speck in your eye. Don't be walking around while telling someone else that they have a speck in your eye when you have a big old plank coming out of your eye. It's the same difference.
You're right, but I find a lot of people who are of the faith that are a lot to work with.
Oh yeah.
And I don't understand. If that's the case, that's why I'm like, okay, look, you can use if your faith ain't working, let's use your reason. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm trying to say. It's like, I'm not saying faith. If faith is what's going to help you to be a better person, then go for it. But let's be honest. It's, use if you're the type of person that needs to use your mind. I'm not saying not to have faith. Faith is number one, but you have to go to your strong suit first. So if you're the type is like, oh my God, what's going on, and you can't think straight, go to your reasoning. You want these people in your life. You want your mom, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your aunt, your whoever, and you realize that it's difficult, but you want them in your life, then you gotta be a better you.
You do.
That's the only way.
Yeah, you have to. That's for sure. But I mean, above that, I mean, I think that everything has been improved, and it's going, and it's running smooth. So it's improving.
Yeah. So this
2025.
this maintenance, like I said, it's more like just an overview of ourselves. We
Yeah.
got to take time. It's not real set date or set month. It's just we really start paying attention to ourselves, our bodies. Our physical, our mental, our spiritual, everything. We have to be on top of where are we going with this. Mentally, spiritually, religiously. It's like we got to figure that out and take care of our stuff because we don't.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we just kind of we just wake up and try to run through the gauntlet of the world and just
Yeah.
try to, what is the world going to give me today? It's like, what's going to happen? Is there going to be an accident on the freeway and now we're going to be late? Is this and that? I mean, and of course, remember, it could always be worse.
And how and but when you say that, it reminded me of like the Groundhog Days life that I used to have.
Mhm.
What's the world gonna give me today? Sometimes you want to make it something.
Yeah.
You want to make it something. Like I said, having a set date, like if we can get together and start creating this happiness, it actually does motivate you to do better things. Rub elbows, make the community bigger. Find things, if you like to go hiking, you don't really have enough people around you, you don't know enough people. Maybe you need to take a break from the people you actually know, and get into the right people. So, I mean, this is the place to do it, I feel, you know.
Yeah, I think I say perspective is what's really important.
Mhm.
And perspective isn't always reality. So that's why it can kind of work against you in a sense. So you have to have the right perspective to see the world to be able to really face it.
Yeah.
And I say Rosalinda says amen MC, so I
Yeah.
and only definitely leaving a like. It's cool.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, we're working this out. We're doing good. So, have you guys watched any of the previous episodes before that you guys resonate with at all? I mean, I am all about defending my ground. No, I'm joking. No, but like bringing out more of and elaborating more of what we've been talking about, because I think even last time, the last time we were getting together and we were piloting this, I was talking about life not being fair. You remember that?
A little bit.
So life, I don't think life is fair. Do you think life is fair?
Life is what you make it because it's not fair.
It's not fair,
It's
right?
not fair.
And
We're all in the same. But remember, we're all in the same boat, guys. Nobody is special than anybody else.
No.
Just remember, just because you might think it's more unfair to you than so are other people, but the thing is that life is unfair for everybody.
yeah, no, it is.
We asked to be here and make our own decisions, and that's how it is.
Yeah,
So, it's. I know people ask God why. Well, God why we were given the choice to make our own decisions, and that's
Well,
why.
well, I mean, okay, so if you're gonna ask me, God, why, I'm gonna respond to you because God made this earth for humans to dominate it. Okay, so we are dominating, we're making it on, like you said, we make our own happiness, and we said, all right, God, when you want something, you pray for it. That's my belief. If you want it, you pray for it, and guess what? God will not if you don't pray for it, because He respects the laws that He made. He made it for us, this world, and He will keep it like that.
I think the questions though sometimes they're asking why is it unfair.
Well, why is it? Well, because we
Well,
make it unfair.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but God has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, He does.
Not to make it unfair.
Yes, He did. No,
Oh.
but to make it fair.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but that's the thing. He's a one-way God. It's a fair God.
Yeah,
That's
He's
what I'm
just like,
saying.
yeah.
It's not unfair, because accidents happen and whatever. It has nothing to do with the fact that you were drinking a six-pack.
Oh, yeah, no.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. It's like things happen and people are like, oh my God, why? Well, he was drinking, he was smoking, he was doing all this stuff, and you had his eyes closed. And I mean, it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
God, why? It's like we put ourselves in these situations and ask God why, and it's like because it's our choice of we have the will to
We
make
do.
our own decision,
We do.
and that's our best and worst asset. We decide what we want to do and how bad do we want to do it, and
Yeah.
sometimes we take it over the top, and it's just so sad. Sometimes things happen.
It is. It does. It does. But yeah, self-control, right? And then take accountability for everything. But life is not fair. I'm happy it's not. I find myself saying it though all the time. Like I'll be like, why did that? That's not fair. You know, that's not fair. But I'm like, oh, I'm happy it's not fair.
For me, it's more not more of it. I'm happy it's not. For me, it's more. For me, it's more of a like. You know what? There's other people that are going just as bad as I am.
There you go.
So I feel like, you know what? I'm trying to make sure that I stay up on the top percentile of people that don't get into situations.
Yeah.
You know, I had told my mom it just something really easy. I told my mom, I said, Mom, you know, I don't worry if I crash my car. I go, I don't worry. You know, if something happens to my car, I'm good. Like if someone crashes it,
Yeah.
not me, but mostly if someone hits it, I'm
Yeah.
okay. I got full coverage.
Yeah.
And she said, and she said, oh, I feel the same way. I said, yeah, Mom, but you ain't got full coverage. I go, that's the thing. You're like, I don't have full coverage, you know, but you don't think about that stuff. So that's putting yourself in that situation. Tell me what she does.
What?
She puts on full coverage.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Not even a year later, she has an accident.
No.
Her fault. She's paying. She hit.
It wasn't big, right?
She made a turn, hit a big rig, and hit it hard enough to where it didn't damage the big rig, but it messed up her car.
Yeah.
You know what she said?
What?
Mijo,
thank God.
Thank God.
Oh yeah.
They paid off her car and gave her some money enough to buy another vehicle.
There you go.
And I go, see, Mama, that's what I'm talking about. It's like you have to, you know, you can't just be like, it doesn't. I'm worry free. You do have to make steps so you don't, do that.
Yeah.
That's why they have, Uber. Man, we didn't have Uber back in the days when we were drinking. We were scared. You know, it's like I'm not saying it was right back then, but man, things are a lot more easier nowadays to do. That that you can get an Uber now. Back then,
absolutely,
it wasn't. Trying to get a taxi or something. It's like. So we gotta take care of ourselves and be responsible. Choices. Yes.
Better choices.
Better choices.
Yeah, we need that.
Definitely.
We need that.
What do we got here? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, we went off a little bit off the subject, but
we did.
But the thing is this, guys. It's do something. Start something. Start working on something that's going to make you a little bit better, get a better perspective of life.
Yeah.
Whether it's, start looking at your health a little bit, start looking at your career a little bit, start looking at your, the religion, how close are you to your religion? Let's do something. Anything is good if you're taking a step in the right direction.
And sometimes, it doesn't have to be religion. It can just be faith. Faith in just God. God is just, it's you just pray.
Yes.
Pray and trust me, you get answers. I think that's what faith really is to me.
Yeah, we got like a Bible study. Sure, if you want to join a group, maybe like you said
there you
earlier,
go, like a Bible study.
Join a Bible study. Join a hiking group. Join a I don't know, sightseeing. Whatever. It's like just do something to help your mind, help your spirit, yourself. Let's work on ourselves so we're not so just ready to explode.
Yeah, and I only say that though, what I said just to cover that up, because yes, I do identify as a Christian, but a long time ago, when you would say religion, I'd be like, ugh, because there was a lot of people that destroyed that for me. Mm-hmm. There was. But then when I actually read the Bible myself, and then I got myself educated, and I started feeling that spiritual connection, then I understood that it's deeper than that. Yeah, it is. But that's another journey in itself, right?
Man, we're so happy to be here, guys, and just want to thank you again for being here. Or sport, yes, just so amazing. I want this community to grow, and with your help, it will continue to grow. We plan on being here every Monday, 6:30 sharp. We're working out the kinks. Like I said, it's the beginning, but I know this is going to go into something big.
And more outlines
yes,
of the topics and everything a little bit more crisp.
Yeah, I definitely have you guys join us so we can create this together. Anything to get me out of the house and daily routine.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. It's necessary. Definitely necessary. All right, guys. So until next time, there's no growth
without pain.
Until next time.
Until next time, guys.